Hey all, and welcome back. This is part 2 of the video on my run form analysis. If you haven't watched part 1, you should probably do that first, so this makes more sense. If I have any sort of YouTube skills, the link to that should show up here on the screen, but in the likely event that I don't, I'll also include it in the comment section below. So, as you remember, part 1 was just a breakdown of my run form, and part 2 is going to be on what I'm doing to address it. So just a quick review. The two biggest issues that I found in my stride in the first video were both on the right side. One is the caving hip, basically caused because of a misfiring of the gluteus medius, and the other is a tight hip flexor, which is on the right side, which is also basically causing me to try to gain excess extension from my back rather than from my hip. Being both of these issues are on the right side, this creates a balance issue, and so I have to counteract that, and that's being done primarily with the left side. So you can see my arms, my legs are basically reacting differently. There's different spacing between the two sides, and we want them to try to be as similar as possible. So that's what we're going to be addressing. The hip flexor issue is one that I'm primarily addressing with work in the gym through mobility, stretching, and some strengthening stuff in there. I'll address this in a separate video because it's actually quite complex. It's directly related to the issue that I had with leading to the sacral fracture that I got to enjoy last fall. So I'll address that separately later. The gluteus medius issue is one that I'm addressing primarily through some drill work and mobility work as well. We know from my work in the gym that it's not a strength issue, it's a firing pattern issue, and so that's what I'm going to be discussing for the rest of this video. When it comes to drills, my philosophy is always you have to have a specific purpose for the drills, right? Whether it's swim, bike, or run, you don't want to just do drills for the sake of doing drills. So I'm going to show you the drills, explain a little bit about what I'm trying to accomplish with them. Perhaps it's something that can help address a situation that you're having as well. So that's kind of the purpose of showing you and going into this detail. Since functional human anatomy was always one of my favorite courses to teach when I was a professor, I couldn't help myself but include a little diagram here. Here is where the gluteus medius starts and ends. It has an origin on the hip and an insertion into the greater trochanter on the femur. It works to externally rotate, abduct, and also helps with flexion. So when it comes to running, what it's going to do is basically help create a rigid cylinder for all of the other muscles to pull off of. And when it's not functioning correctly, then you see we get drop to one side, which is the Trendelenburg side, which I talked about on the last video, but that's what we need to address. So these drills are set up in a bit of a progression. This first one you've probably seen before as part of an agility drill. You don't have to have the ladders to do it, but basically what this is doing is it's forcing a contraction of the gluteus medius when it's working as an abductor or pushing off to the side. Say hi to Coach Kevin. The second drill here is very much the same concept as the first, but now we're introducing a bit of flexion. So moving forward, which is also part of the role of the gluteus medius. So again, it helps with proper timing and stabilization of the pelvis and forcing that by introducing that lateral component. The third drill is basically a slow motion over exaggeration of our run form. The cue here is to ensure your knee is driving up above 90 degrees. When it drives up above 90 degrees, it forces the gluteus complex to engage. So we want to track the knee outward just slightly and make sure it goes above 90 degrees. This is also a great example of why you have to be focused when you're doing these drills, because as soon as I start talking to Kevin, I start to fall over. So we continue to get a little bit more dynamic with this drill progression. This drill is going to be a series of variations of an A skip, where we're actually adding an external rotation. So if you look at the feet work, it's basically the same as the A skip, but we're externally rotating the leg or bringing the knee out away from the body. And that is basically trying to reinforce the gluteus medius firing pattern. So we do it basically with a slight rotation first, and then we add an even greater rotation for the second time through, or as we progress to the next round. And that brings us to the final drill that we have currently incorporated into my plan, and that is basically just a standard single leg hop. We use a band held above the head to incorporate a little bit more of a balance component. And we're also focusing on driving the knee above 90 degrees. Again, if you remember, driving that knee above 90 degrees forces the glutes to fire. And so we're encouraging the proper firing pattern with every step as we go with this drill, as long as the knee is above 90 degrees. So that's where we're at so far. These are the drills that I have implemented into my training plan currently. You can see the progression of the drills, and basically I'm doing this before every major run that I do. Obviously, if it's off the bike, I'm not doing these before between the bike and the run, but I basically incorporate this as part of my dynamic warm-up. But there's a specific intent to these, and again, with any time that you're doing drills, you need to be intentional about it and stay focused with what you're doing. The next video I'm going to cover again is going to be on the hip flexor issues and how I've gone about addressing that. If there's anything specifically that you want to see, make sure you leave it in the comment section below. Otherwise, make sure you hit the like or dislike if you didn't like it button and subscribe to the videos. Until next time.